2 or 3 weeks ago, we had a conversation here on Fire and Fury with Paula Penfold, documentary filmmaker, investigative journalist, that looked at the instigators of the Wellington protest. And she didn't use this term, and I don't think it was in the documentary, but what some people refer to as the disinformation dozen in New Zealand. The people who are kind of mostly driving the disinformation around vaccines, COVID, mask mandates, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So since then, we've been getting quite a bit of pushback, and I have to say, look, to be honest, nothing that's a concern. Like, you know, I'm not going to sit here and complain like some people, you know, aren't able to go home after they broadcast, or they're getting death threats. Nothing like that. Just pushback. And look, I'll be honest with you, your pushback's fine. Like you're welcome to share your views, even if I disagree with them. Fine, right? As long as we're respectful to one another, fine. I haven't banned anyone from anything. Oh no, that's not true. Someone started to talk about the Christchurch massacre being a false event. They got banned immediately. Gone. You're off my Facebook, off my YouTube altogether. You're gone, because I ain't gonna play that game, homie. Several people amongst this conversation have sent me a documentary. Well, it's not even a documentary. Sorry, it's just a clip that someone's put together. Now, they're specifically talking about the COVID vaccine, and they're specifically talking about young athletes having heart attacks. So if you know anything about me right now, from the time you've spent with me doing this, I research. I look and I dig and I try and find the answer. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes I go looking for the answer and I find the answer that I'm not really that happy about, but it's the answer. I've used this term several times before. I'm sure you know what it is. It's the term gish gallop. You've probably heard me talking about gish galloping before. A gish gallop is a rhetorical technique in which a person in a debate attempts to overwhelm their opponent by providing an excessive number of arguments with no regard for the accuracy or strength of those arguments. During a gish gallop, a debater confronts an opponent with a rapid series of many specious arguments, half-truths, misrepresentations, and outright lies in a short space of time, which make it impossible for the opponent to refute them all within the format of a formal debate. So that's a gish gallop. A gish gallop is when a whole bunch of information is thrown at you with literally nothing to back it up, and it takes them a few seconds to put all that information out there, and it takes you a long time to research it and a long time to actually go, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is slightly wrong, this is right. It takes a long time. So what I did today was I got this. This is one of the videos that I've been sent, and it's titled "Why a Healthy Athlete's Collapsing." Now, this might get us kicked off YouTube, this conversation, because they're not fans of this, although this is on YouTube. And I'm going to show you the first 60 seconds. Okay. So obviously this is not endorsed by me. In fact, let's be fair. I wanted to reject this. That's how I started, but I researched it. So this is specifically talking to people who are vaccinated, then having cardiac arrest, especially young people, especially athletes. I'll play you the first 60 seconds of this, and there's a reason I'm playing you the first 60 seconds, and I'll explain it at the end.
A Baker County high school senior is in the hospital after collapsing on the tennis courts.
Breaking new details on the deaths of a high school soccer player.
Finland, Denmark star man Christian Eriksen collapsing towards the end of the first half.
The Kennedy High community mourning tonight after one of their high school football players died.
A South Carolina high school football player has died after collapsing at football practice.
Star college basketball player collapsing on the court. We want to warn you, the video may be difficult to watch.
Florida Gators star Keontae Johnson collapsing during the game.
A West Catholic high school student has died after collapsing during a football scrimmage.
On mile 8, she suddenly felt fuzzy and blacked out.
17-year-old Ryan Jacobs' heart stopped.
Unexpectedly collapsed on the field.
Megan went into cardiac arrest.
Collapsing during Friday night's football game.
Right. I stopped it at 54 seconds. The reason I stopped it at 54 seconds was I'm the kind of person that can kind of go down a rabbit hole and stay there. So I said to myself today, I'm going to give this an hour of my time. I gave it an hour of my time, and in that hour, I got to look at and research and try and figure out the first 54 seconds of this clip. That's a Gish Gallop. They put out a claim or series of claims here that last 54 seconds. It takes me an hour to try and figure out what they're saying. And in fact, it's not even true that this is 54 seconds of claims. I don't know if you picked up on it, but that's actually 4 or 5 video claims that are repeated twice. Like the video 1 is also video 6. So it might have felt like a lot, and it was a few, but they were repeating them again. So they used one, and then they used it again as the 6th or 5th or 6th. The second one came back again as the 7th. So they were actually repeating over themselves. So the example of the Gish Gallop is 1 hour of my time is 54 seconds of their claims. So what I've literally done is gone through and I've tried and attempted to find either every single clip that played here, the original source from it, and then find out about the cardiac event that that person had and why, or at the very least find a story about the people they're talking about. So we're going to go through and have a look piece by piece. You probably, I mean, you may not remember this, but this was the first story that was used, and I think this is actually the literal exactly. Yep. So it's exactly the same one that was just in the thing. So this is literally the same one that I watched, and I'm not going to take too much time on these because some of them are shorter, some of them are quicker. That story was January 21st, 2021. Okay. They're using it, remember, as an example. Look, let me just say this once. This is going to be for all. They are using it, whoever made this video, as an example of how the vaccine is causing heart attacks and damaging hearts. So that claim that I just made is their claim for every video, so I don't need to say it again. That event happened to that high school student, January 21st, 2021. Vaccine wasn't available to high school students in January 21st, 2021. Gone. Easy, just like that, gone. Their first claim, gone. The second one was they talked about the high school player, and I don't know if this is exactly the right one. Oh, there you go. That's the same video, right? So I found literally the same video and looked it through. The person's name was Ethan Trejo, and Ethan Trejo, once the coroner came in, he died of cardiac arrhythmia due to a blockage in the artery. It was artery blockage. Now, there is research that talks about myocarditis being brought on by the vaccine. That's real. That's research. That's out there, right? There is no research anywhere that says the vaccine will cause an artery to block. Debunked. Gone. Not the case. We shall go on to the next one. Oh, actually, was that the one? Because one of them also talked about it was congenital abnormality. That's the other thing. So it was a blocked artery and it was congenital. And just for clarity, congenital means one or more problems with the heart structure that are present at birth. So it was an issue that person had from birth. Nothing to do with the vaccine whatsoever. 3. We'll keep going. There was a story there. This is not exactly the same story, but it is the story about the I think it was a Norwegian soccer player collapsing on the field. So this is the soccer player, and that's him collapsing up in the corner. Right? Very easy to research that one and have a look. Their directors and their doctors, he wasn't vaccinated. No vaccine, not vaccinated, no part of it, no connection. The next story is a Kennedy High School athlete, and you can see actually that this is one that is exactly the same video.
During Friday night's football game against Hiram Johnson. Good evening, and thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Marley Ginter.
So same story, and we went through and we found out that he passed away
after collapsing at football practice.
That's the same
This
story.
happened at Dutch Fork High School in Irmo. The school says 17-year-old Jack Al-Khatib died.
So Jack Al-Khatib died, and I found a story that Jack Al-Khatib's mother said that his autopsy revealed that he had a rare heart disease unrelated to vaccines. Not the case. No vaccines, unrelated to it. The Florida Gator basketball player that they showed twice collapsing, Well, he actually, that happened on the 12th of December, 2020, before the vaccines existed. The West Catholic football player, the same story. That was actually in the
After
situation.
collapsing during a football scrimmage. The scrimmage actually was
Literally the same story. He had a previously diagnosed enlarged heart. He passed away from a condition that they already knew about. Now, the thing about conspiracy theorists, and I know I joke a little bit when I say conspiracy theorists are always wrong, is what actually happens when they manipulate, twist, add on actual information that's not there, they exaggerate or they outright lie, is that when they do have a situation or a case, they sort of lose all credibility for that as well. And I'll be honest, this was a situation, and this is exact video that was used.
Mother cardiac arrest. Caney, a fire
That was the,
Smith. Megan blacked out.
Everything.
that was the bit that was
Mile
used.
8,
That bit
she
there?
suddenly felt fuzzy and blacked out.
So that's literally the same story. And research on her says this: it remains unclear what caused her problem. Among the possible factors, say her doctors cited are hereditary. Her father died at 53, a family history of heart disease, and myocarditis, a mild cardiac inflammation that has been associated with COVID-19. So if we're being fair, when you go down this rabbit hole, you got to answer all of it. There's a chance that her situation was related to the vaccine, because it does happen. It is out there. Myocarditis is a real thing, right? Myocarditis is a real thing, and there is an increased risk of it with the vaccine. So this is being honest, right? So I acknowledge that. However, the research also shows that if you catch it and get it early, that for most people, it doesn't cause any problems. Some people need steroids. Some people it just goes away with. And for a very small percentage of people, it can be quite dangerous if not treated. The other part of that conversation, though, if you're talking in its fullness, is that the research was very clear when that came out, that catching COVID was how can I word that better? That myocarditis, the chances of getting myocarditis was increased even greater if you caught COVID. So yes, there was a chance of getting myocarditis if you got the vaccine. Very, very slim chance, very small microscopic chance, especially for teenage boys. For some reason, it showed up there. But the chances of getting myocarditis if you caught COVID was greater. And if you don't believe me, go watch the Joe Rogan clip where he was debunked. Joe Rogan was debunked live on air with his guest showing him the data that says that. This is another story.
Citrus High's principal Laura Mason released a
that was
message
talked
on
about.
Facebook Tuesday
The
night
person
that said
is
in part,
Antonio
quote,
Hicks.
"We have suffered a great loss, and the pain we all feel is immeasurable."
And this was 54 seconds in. And again, doing some research on this situation, it was a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, I think, which is typically inherited. Those with the condition have a 50% chance to pass it on the disease to their children. So it was a hereditary disease, and it had nothing to do with the vaccine. So when I put my tongue in my cheek slightly and I say things like, conspiracy theorists are always wrong, I do then justify it by saying are always wrong mostly. What I want to be able to do is offer at least people who are using this kind of thing the challenge to actually follow up on what you think is accurate. That document or that video should never be used again by someone as evidence for vaccine related heart damage. The person or people who have been sending me that, you should never use that again. It has been completely debunked because of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 examples that happened in the first 54 seconds. One of them there's no answer for. The other 7 are all unequivocally not that. So it should never be used again. So someone's now going to sit there and go, well, what are all these people dying from, heart disease and stuff when they're young and they're athletes? Well, I've got an answer for that as well, as sad as it may seem. This is a research paper that was done between July 2014 and June 2018. It went for 4 years. In that 4 years, so this is before COVID, no vaccines, but in that 4 years, 331 cases of confirmed SCA, which is sudden cardiac arrest, where there was 158 survivors and 173 fatalities. So that's, 80 to 100 a year. 15.4% of those were in middle school, which I think we can classify as sort of intermediate school and the first 2 years of high school. 61% were in high school, 16% were in college, and 16% were in college and professional athletes. So every year in America only, there's 80 athletes who die of a sudden cardiac arrest before COVID came around. So this was a study that was done before COVID. This is not retrospectively trying to change someone's opinion. This was done before COVID. And there's 80 students a year in America dying from heart attacks, healthy, active students who are athletes, student athletes, forget that. So yes, you can go and find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 examples of it pretty easily if you think that's been happening 80 a year. So in the last 10 years, there's been between 800 and 1,000, let's say. It's pretty easy to find stories on 8. What's hard to do is then connect them to the vaccine. So my challenge to you is, if you're going to pass stuff on, do the research yourself. The people who have sent me this haven't done the research. And it kind of makes me a bit mad, because it's not that difficult to do. I found the first one in about 3 to 5 minutes. The first one was a person who had an SCA, a sudden cardiac arrest, before the vaccines were even available to them, as was about the fourth one. So what I would say to you is, if you want to put forward a position, A, you don't need to lie about it. B, you don't need to exaggerate it. C, you shouldn't have to try and twist any facts and figures. If your argument is strong and accurate for whatever you're talking about, then actually it should stand up to any critique. This does not. And when I say things like conspiracy theorists are always wrong, it's because most of the time, pretty much all of the time, when you put it up to a critical eye, it very, very rarely, if ever, stands up to it.